do have the guest of honor, Dr. Malunga, who is with us all the way from Zomba. Please, a round of applause for him for coming to this program. We also do have the President of National Theatre Association of Malawi, Mr. Eric Mabedi. A big hand for him as well. Lots of honorable mentions that I could put across. I see the director of Choices. I believe we have all watched Choices, the TV series that is here on NBC TV. Mr. Shakira Makisuri is also with us. The co-founder of the Banganga Poetry Movement, Paul says here, I think I saw you somewhere, or he keeps on appearing and disappearing. He's a young man, but we ought to give him a round of applause for coming to this program. And also someone that I look up to in terms of literature and doing a lot of reading, because I've been at his place numerous times. And for the many times that I've been at his place, he introduces me to some different new book. Mr. Alfred Sadali is also with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Golden Peacock Hotel. I believe most of us, it is our first time coming through to this particular place. Not really me though, because last time I was here, I was just literally passing by. I didn't even know the name of this particular place, but I'm so delighted that finally I get to have the chance to come through and host this particular event. This particular afternoon, we are launching a book, one titled Southern African Plays, one done by the amazing Smith, Likongwe, who is singing. Father, big hand for him. And before we get to the nitty-gritties of what is supposed to happen this afternoon, I just wanted to make mention that behind us on that particular table, there are several books on sale, including Southern African Plays, which is going around like 10,000 kwacha. We are having Southern African Plays Collection 1, going at 7,000 kwacha. Kamuzubanda and other plays, 10,000 kwacha. Living play scripts. I was arguing with somebody junior over the pronunciation of this word. What is it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be trilogy or trilogy? Trilogy. It depends on which village you're coming from, right? Okay. So we're having that book as well, going at 5,000 kwacha, as well as the Chief's Blanket and other plays. Plus, I will also experience different performances coming through from Mashalo, Paul Sezi, of course. I believe Mbukiri Salimu will join us a little bit later on this afternoon. He also share his poetry pieces. And, different remarks from different prominent people that have decided to grace their presence here. But without much ado, there are also readings that we have organized for you guys, just to keep you entertained, informed, not necessarily educated, because we believe that the power of art is that everyone experiences it differently, and there are no rules as to what makes a great form of art. Understanding it shouldn't be about the elements of literature, but how well art connects to people's situations as well as circumstances. And this particular afternoon, we're about to have an expression conversation with you guys. That is well put. A round of applause for me, please. So, the first stage reading shall come from the play When Angels Weep, written by Blessings Hungwe from Zimbabwe, of course. Now, in this brief fragment, just like many Africans figuratively sell their countries to foreigners, Uncle Tito sold his own niece, Sarita, into sex slavery when she was only 13 years old. Now, Sarita is now 30. She comes back to the village and confronts Uncle Tito, who is now in a sorry state. A round of applause for that, please.
I am like a donkey being led this way, that way, but not where I want to go. What I want is to be left alone, to retrace my footsteps of my childhood, run free in the valley, rediscover the forest that I played hide and seek. Maybe then, this might all start being new to me, making sense from one prison to another. I know something is happening with Uncle Tito, because no one has dared mention it openly to me. So yes, I want to see him. The gods have been laughing at me my whole life. He is barely himself. In my mind, when this moment came, I wanted to fight him, strangle him. I wanted to beat the truth out of him. Why? I asked him. Why? Why me? Why his favorite niece? Why? 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 Looking at me, him I feel cheated. I hardly recognize him. The 13-year-old in me recognizes him and runs to him for comfort. to comfort him in his wheelchair. But the minute he lays his crooked hand on her, she recoils in horror. Just one single touch is enough. She feels the evil that is this man. Her eyes wide open, fully comprehending. She tries to speak to me. But the words won't come out. I feel her little heart beating fast. Faster, and I feel it cracking inside her small chest, where two small bumps indicating impeding womanhood stand proud. 17 years of rage, billions of rapes, and untold abuse, all locked up in me, come to a boiling point at that very moment. I look at this discreet man in a wheelchair being pampered and spoiled. I haven't cried in 17 years, but tears freely fall down my eyes. I am shaking with rage. I want to kill him. I can see a faint mocking smile in those eyes. He thinks he has won. He knows nobody will believe me if I tell them it was him. Finally, even the hardened prostitute in me breaks.
I am going to hell. There are times when a man has to take his medicine like a man. Stand up and be accountable for your deeds or misdeeds. There's no heaven for me. I know, and I'm content. I've had bad things. It wasn't my intention, but sometimes life. I feel for all the girls, really. I really am sorry.
Sorry.
When it all started, they said I was giving these girls a chance at a better life. They told me if one of them was lucky, she might be adopted by Angelina Jolie, Madonna.
Is that what you tell yourself at night? You left me in Gupta's arms. You know what he did to me. You knew what he was, what business he was in.
Of course, the minute I met Gupta, the minute I saw his business premises, I knew.
Still, you went ahead and sold me.
There was no way back. I had crossed the threshold of no return.
Do you have any idea what kind of life you condemned me to?
For days on end, I threw up. Didn't eat. I even contemplated suicide. I knew what I had done. But 40,000 was burning a hole in my pocket. Like I said, time comes when a man decides which side he's playing for. I guess I was the first choice striker in the devil's team.
How do you sleep at night? How do you keep breathing? My sister. You killed my sister. You killed my mother. How many lives have you destroyed in this village?
After the first, it became easier. I justified it. I sought elected office as a member of parliament. I became the alpha and omega of this village. Without me, they would all be dead.
Maybe a guilty conscience?
I don't feel guilty. If I hadn't trafficked them, somebody else would have. The village would not have benefited.
What about us? Our lives? Our hopes? Our dreams?
Which gave this village stood a chance. They were all parceled out before puberty. All they had waited for on them was on the other side of 15 were old men, old enough to be their fathers to marry them, give them a billion kids. I saved them from that life.
Do they know what you have done with their daughter? Does my mother know? Oh my God, she knows. Oh my God, she knows. Does the village know? Do they all know?
I can't paint this picture. I simply want to paint this picture. I wanted to, but the horror of it is just too much. Maybe this picture can be painted, maybe. There's no sunshine to paint in this picture, nor is there moonshine. The stars have dimmed on this picture. All I see are angels, but I can't see their faces. They hide their faces from me. The canvas won't dry up. It's wet. The skies have darkened. The clouds have covered the sun. The angels are sad. The angels are sad. I see it. I see it. I can paint this picture. Oh yes.
Now in 2016, when me and Paul Sezi met, it was after 2 years when I had just got introduced to poetry, spoken word poetry. And I remember back in the day in the city of Blantyre, we used to have a spot called Mgawa Cafe, and we used to go for open mic poetry sessions on a weekly basis. And then he died down. When I met up with Paul Sezi, the idea was, let's try to have that back. And we met the owners of Haraba Arts Gallery, and since the 16th of August till right now, we have been having that expression conversation with numerous other poets who have decided to make their thoughts heard to the public. I'm so honored this particular afternoon to put it across that he also happens to be one of the co-founders of one of the poetry movements, biggest ones in the country, one called the Vidifaganga Poetry Movement. And this particular afternoon, he's sharing a poem with you guys. Please put your hands together for Paul Sezi.
I have a poem which has a bit of a musical rendition to it. I hope all of us do remember the song we used to sing while we were in primary school, Galu Yungwandani. Yeah, so maybe first of all I would want to ask people to remember singing that song because it will be part of the poem. Galu Yungwandani. Those who can stand can do that so because it feels better that way. All right, Galu Yungwandani. Galu Yungwandani. Tincheke pamimba, gatiwaja matemba. Tincheke pamimba, gatiwaja matemba. So my poem is actually titled Galu Yungwandani. All right. Galu Yungwandani. All dogs have their days, and the wise say, I know of lucky dogs who have had theirs too. I know of dogs who don't just have one day. I know of dogs who have had 100 days. Days of chewing and swallowing, days of swigging and shindigging, days of carousing and uncouthing, days of boring and birching, days of flaunting and fating, of fatting and toileting, dogs unchained and untethered. Awake and on circadian throw. Rabid dogs with zippers opened and ready to roar, they go this way and that way, hooded and ruffled, here and there, back and forth, on the move, in and out of skates of black, red, and green. They woo our wives to our common death. In their bloom, they munch our daughters, flat out the dogs go rampaging, any which way. Flat-footing the future of their sons, any which way. Galu Yungwandani. Galu Yungwandani. Timcheke pamimba, ngatiwaja matemba. Timcheke pamimba, ngatiwaja matemba. All dogs have their days, the wise keep saying. I know of lucky dogs born with a silver spoon. They fly first class to Dubai for a real cold Coca-Cola. To Italy for designer stools, to Paris for deodorant, to India for a broken tail, a moustache transplant. To South Africa for concubines to do their nails. They buy lots of foreign sakes from foreign women. They nurse foreign egos and foreign hangovers. When their pockets run dry, these dogs don't cry. They will shoot if they can't thieve. Here and there, the dogs sniff for more of the immoral banknote. They get crushed and get the cash. Cash get, COVID get, belt get, police food ration get, or cash get. Any which way, they stash their cash in cars, up at the ceilings, down the pillars. Any which way. Galu Yungwandani. Galu Yungwandani. Timcheke pamimba ngati wadya matemba. Timcheke pamimba ngati wadya matemba. These are dogs that sit with the master at the table. The tables in high places carrying the scent of their godfather like shadows to beg at dog weddings. These are dogs that hand out huge sums in animated dog churches. They buy oversized coffins for dog carcasses. And when the reporters come late, they will ask for a repeat of the ceremonies. So, when handing over the coffin, they are perfectly captured on cameras. And when these dogs want a house, they are clever enough not to build shacks that will be flushed away by January floods, just like those in Chilobi, in Sanji, or Chikwawa. They build hotels for houses, mansions for crowds. They buy 6 brand new Scania buses to travel in to buy vegetables, fish, and dog meat at Mtandile. They are that plush enough, they are that swagger enough, and when the poorer and slighter dogs clap hands for them, their tongues go drawing. Any which way. The tails of flags on their cars go wagging. Any which way. Galu yungwandani, galu yungwandani, timcheke pamimba ngati wadya matemba, timcheke pamimba ngati wadya matemba. These dogs are potent and dangerous. They wear the American Pit Bull Terrier robes. They are Rottweilers at the slightest provocation. They can be German Shepherds on their day. They are not dogs to be carelessly knocked down on the road by careless drivers. Dead on the road by drivers without love for animals. They bite with the venom in their fangs, yet are immune in those feelings. Feeling that other wobbly and ailing dogs do feel. These are dogs whose nostrils have a better sense than bats, such that when the D-Day comes, their discs in their spinal cords begin to sleep. Their blood pressure begins to rise. They would take insanity too as a pleasure too. Too unfit for trial, too hot to handle, too cold to hold. And while these dogs play games in the law, their siblings have already graduated from a school of thievery, any which way. And so all dogs have their days. And all dogs will have their last day, any which way. Galu yungwandani.
Now, as we technically continue with what we had planned and staged for you guys this particular afternoon, here comes another staged reading. This one, Chibuito Girl of War. It is actually based on Chibuito Girl of War. This is another play, of course. Now, in this particular play, written by New Zealand-based Zimbabwean playwright Stanley Makwe, it is a story mainly taking place in the bush, where freedom fighters are fighting the government of Ian Smith in order to achieve their own genuine independence. In some cases, the revolutionary soldiers made use of girls to run various errands. Now, in this extract, Makanika, a girl, buries a child she inherited from her friend Mashoko. Makanaka is assisting the freedom fighter, Comrade Duvura Greda, I'm hoping that the pronunciation is right, Mutonga Nevara. The comrade has been shot and is battling for his life.
Dust to dust, ashes to ashes. My child, you have been taken away from us. You had a very short but powerful and memorable life. You lived it your own way and followed your heart. You fought your own war, fight to your last breath. A young warrior, you lived and died young, and yet from you we learned perseverance, endurance, and never say die. Spirit, you will fight on. All we ask for today is for your spirit to travel well and to find a place for us in heaven, in secret places where the spirits of our ancestors dwell. We will find you sitting at the right hand of our Lord, right next to Nahanda and Kaguvi. You shall be our witness on our judgment day. Travel well, my child.
Maga, go.
No,
Go.
I'm not going anywhere.
Do you want to watch me dying?
You're not dying.
Death is part of war. Go.
A dead body does not fight a war.
Maga, I also have a dream. A dream to see the Zimbabwe flag rising up in the sky. To see a black leader on the high chair. To see a black judge leading the Supreme Court so that my people are judged fairly.
Be silent.
This war is not about killing. It is not about spilling blood or splitting black and white. It is about ending what changes, what divides us. The inequalities. It is about ending the inequalities and the injustices. I sense victory in Maka. Mugabe, Nkomo, Tongogara, Mangena will hold hands up high in victory.
At that particular time, I was acting for Likongwe Arts, and we had to do a play, of course, written and directed by our very own Smith Likongwe. I believe it was also his very first play having him directed. And right after that, we never saw him again, and neither did we see another play by Likongwe Arts. But I was the optimism and in coming through to act the audition. I remember there was communication like 2 weeks prior of having this particular audition, and we were super prepared, provided with scripts and whatnot. First time doing a very big production for Likongwe Arts as well. So when I got there, I came across several other actors who had been in the game for the longest time. I forgot everything that I had memorized there. So watching him doing really quite close to the very same thing, I was like, okay. It happens. But another big gun for them, please. Poetry is life. Poetry is quite inspirational, but the basis of inspiration varies from one area to the other. Earlier we saw Osese coming through to embrace the stage, as well as to have you, quoted with his soothing words. Now I'll invite to the stage another good friend of mine who keeps on appearing and disappearing, but he has decided to appear here. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for one Mashalo Samilo.
The first poem I will recite is called It Is the Situation. When it gives you a picture, something that cleans the situation, it gives you the comfortability. It takes you back to your friends. It relates you back to your relatives. Something that shows you how life is. Something that makes you feel the dusting of glass. It strengthens your ability to feel the beauty of nature. It wipes away your tears. It clears your ears so you can hear the bells chirping. Something that plucks a nice guitar solo in your soul. It germinates the seed on the ground. For the seed to produce the fields, that's what we call love. Thank you. My last piece is called When I See Africa. When I see Africa, I see a baby with a green sweat and a moisture tongue. The magic that foretells the future 200 years to come. In Iskakun, the foreign blown is seeth that even can block the tanks from writing and stops the tying of a chopper with wheeling and spine laurels. Precious soil clamps that were hacked off by pink-tailed with a mallet. When I see Africa, the space fighters were decapitated by them, loose that solve scientific conundrum, that are the cardinal points still lacking on their brains. A conundrum that failed them. The wind which fights the gravity, found sliding with gas steps in the sky. Lopes that vomit the necessities after licking the walls of Gaia. The saucer that breaks the destination in a blink of an eye. The brook for fresh water and descends from the mountains. I see a man possessing the air. From the underground comes with a key. I see daisies, polluted waters, earthquakes, volcanoes engulfing the baby. Through the open windows, the mosquitoes have been planted axes, invading the soil of protection of urbanization. Thank you.
And as we continue, we're going to witness another staged reading of a play titled Nzazi Hawks, a play by our very own Smith Likongwe from Malawi.
My husband's place. He is Yotam Jungubara the Great.
Wait, are you sure that Njungubara the Great is going to help us?
I have taken you to the right place with all your problems.
Are you sure he can fortify me?
He can make people fail to see you. All the people hunting for you, including the immigration, shall not see you.
Good. Yotam Jungubara the Great seems like to be the answer indeed.
And you were supposed to be dead.
Everybody thinks I am dead. But by the time the accident was happening, my boss, Vusimusi Gigaba, had just made an unexpected visit down there. He said he wanted to do some supervision for just half an hour. So I moved out of that place to give him space. I went up to a higher level. That was when the mine collapsed below where I was.
The radio and TV were announcing your death. Your death and the disappearance of Vusimusi Gigaba. So, it must be Vusi who died then.
Exactly. Vusi is no more.
And from the celebrations, it seems obvious that Becca, that devil that I was staying with, has played a hand in this so-called accident. So I have run away to be with my men from Malawi. You know these Malawian men, they're very good, I tell you.
Just like my Tanzanian guy. He's also good. Now, you have to pay a deposit of 2,000 rand to see Jungubara the Great. This is just for consultation. He's going to charge after assisting you.
Okay. I also want to be fortified. I don't want gunshots to penetrate my body. They should just bounce off, you know?
That is child prey for Jungubara the Great.
I am also here for the same. By now, Baker has heard that I am alive and that it is actually Vusi who died. He will do everything in his books to eliminate me.
More especially because Affidavit here has snatched me away from you again.
Jungubara the Great has answers for all that. Now, you just wait here. I'll go and tell him their clients. When he comes, you will explain all your problems.
Do you think Jungubara shall actually help?
You know, his name is all over. He should help us. I have no doubt.
Announcing the arrival of Jungubara the Great, the greatest Inyanga from Mbeya, Tanzania.
Jangi. Jangi.
Ah, Anusa!
Affidavit.
Wait, Anus, what are you doing here? Do you work for Jungubara the Great?
Well, I'm supposed to be Jungubara the Great.
You are not Jungubara the Great?
Well, I'm sorry.
Answer my question. Are you Jungubara the Great?
I am Anusa Mdara from Tie Bwananyambi in Mangochi district, Malawi.
You are not from Mbeya in Tanzania.
Well, I've said I am from Mangochi in Malawi.
And what is your name again?
Anusa Mdara.
Anus, when did you become a witch doctor?
Affidavit. I never became a witch doctor. The time you were coming, they were rounding up all illegal immigrants. Mr. Christopher Denvias tried to hide me, but the people were combing all corners. Then he just advised me to run away. When you sent your last WhatsApp message after entering South Africa, I immediately switched off my phone because they were tracing me. To be safe, I created a new trade and a new identity for myself. Yotamu Jungubara the Great.
So this guy is just a waste of time.
How are you going to give me back my capital?
Ayanga, don't ask difficult questions, huh?
I have undressed before a fool. I have shown my nakedness to a useless Malawian trickster. All my valuable trust, all my hopes vanished to a cheat, a swindler, an imposter. Give me back my capital.
Last week, if not at least a week before last, I was on Facebook, so I saw Smith Likongwe had posted a picture of the very last play that he had to do with us in 2014.
And two of the actors who were featured in that particular production, one titled President's Prerogative, are no longer alive. One, Henry Wiskezo Ntalika, and of course, our very own dear sister who passed a month ago, Juliet Roy. Perhaps a lot of you guys actually know her. Just for the sake of, getting them in our minds, this is all getting all emotional for me because I've been with them for the longest time. But I hope you won't mind standing just for a minute, just to observe that, and may their souls continue resting in peace. Thank you very much. My life of a relationship didn't work. It is to the knock of this human heart to talk of the age of 19 when I lost my virginity to a lady slightly older. And just like many young boys, it was based on many lies that I told her just to hold her and show I had so much to prove, like I had much more experience than she thought she knew, and even though it wasn't true, it was amazing. But it ended because I did what most young boys do. Listen to the lies and the rumors of a fool, which ultimately led to this poor girl getting stuck in the jaws in the middle of the school. And even though I didn't do it, I felt like I was the one to blame because the girl who hit her was the cousin of my man who was part of my gang. Now, it is just, doesn't seem cool. Now tell me, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then a wise man gave me a clue. He said, the only way out is the way through. Thank you. Oh, that was a poem, by the way. Apparently with us this particular afternoon, we were supposed to have Ambukile Salim. Perhaps he's caught up with some other works, but as soon as he joins us, you'll be able to share his poetry piece. But as we continue, earlier we saw the staged reading of Nzazi Hopes, a play, of course, by our very own Smith Likongwe. And from that particular extraction as well, we're also having one scene that has been put together by the actors, amazing ones, just to keep us serenaded this afternoon. So in the next 5 minutes, I believe they'll take to the stage. Rather, in a minute, they'll take to the stage and be there relatively for about 5 minutes to keep you serenaded. Let's give them a round of applause as they come.
Darling,
Yes, honey.
let's go and take a bath together.
But I should lock the door first.
Ah,
You never know, as we're enjoying ourselves, your former husband, Ubega, might just show up and spoil the fun.
wait, he doesn't know this place now, does he? Or have you told him where we've moved to?
Told him where we've moved to. That would be suicide. Besides, that idiot doesn't even know we're married now.
Serves him right.
You know, he keeps asking me for your whereabouts. Sometimes I think, should I tell him where you are and receive the award? Or should I keep on enjoying the award that came on its own?
Wait, so there is a reward for me?
Yes. If I give him information leading to your discovery, he has promised bundles of runs, bundles of runs. You know what? When I see you, darling Zihi, I see two things. One, I see a very beautiful and wonderful wife. Two, when things go haywire, I see you as a bundle of cash from Ubeka.
Now, darling, we wouldn't exchange me for cash now. Don't you enjoy our times together?
Risky working for Ubeka and hiding your whereabouts.
Well, fortunately, I don't have to do business anymore, so he cannot locate me easily. And you earn a lot, so I can depend on you.
That's true, honey.
The water is hot. I'm hot. Let's go take a bath, please.
I'm not in the mood for bathing.
Please, for my sake.
Okay, let's go. Got it.
Affidavit. It's me, Umbeka.
Honey!
want me to know this place. That's why you kept on giving me an excuse after the other.
I was gonna bring you here. I was just in the place of making this place habitable.
Yeah.
Where?
Affidavit. Between you and me, who knows Joburg and the surrounding areas more than the other?
You, of course.
So, I was able to sneak your moves, and here I am.
You are most welcome.
Almost?
Most.
Now the mission I entrusted you with. Have you by now found out where my thief will be hiding?
No.
Not a trace?
None whatsoever.
Affidavit. You think I am a fool?
No, of course not, boss. Of course not.
Can you look at the cloth on the table there? Did you lay it yourself there, Wena?
Yes, I did.
Did you buy it yourself?
Yes, of course, I bought it.
Do you know Harabachi?
Who?
Affidavit. Is she still taking a bath?
Taking a bath?
Taking a bath, man! Removing your stuff from her body!
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Affidavit, where are you hiding, man?
Hiding who, boss?
They said, don't see my wife. Where are you hiding?
I don't know where she is.
I have conducted my own investigation, and I am 101% sure that Letitia is here. When I arrive at the place, I don't just knock immediately. I have to be sure that I am looking at the right place. That's why I know that Letitia was about to take a bath when I arrived outside your door 20 minutes ago.
Boss, please, don't pull the trigger.
No, please, Becca, don't do it. Please, Becca, don't do it. He listens to what I have to say, and he provides for my human needs as a woman.
And me?
You were always drunk, Becca. You loved Uchwala more than Nina, Becca.
So
you were always drunk. You would come home drunk for 3 to 4 to 5 nights, and then you would go straight into deep slumber with loud snores. And you are a man who was so useless. You are a man who was so useless, Becca. You couldn't stand. And you were a physical and moral threat in my life.
So you have chosen him over me?
Malawian men are more here.
Just answer my question.
I have answered.
So you are leaving me for this West Bend product? No, I'm getting rid of this guy, and I will take you back to
No, please, Becca, don't do it, please. If you still love me, Becca, don't do it. If you kill him, I shall kill myself, Becca. Don't do it.
If it wasn't for you and he, I would be praying of how to dispose of your body by now. So, you have been undressing for him.
Please.
Shut up, you Malawi! You Malawians, what did you have of your own? Everything you consume from here, probably. Jewish, from here. 10 fish, ours. 20 cleaning papers, ours. Building materials, ours. Vegas papers, ours. Wedding dresses, from here. University of Malawi, PhDs, done here. Ballot paper printing, done here. Hospital treatment before fever was done here. Women from here. You Malawians, you even don't have women that you have to steal from our women here. Everything you steal. Elections, you steal. Taxpayers' money, you steal. Women, you steal. I will shoot you and your president, plus his own bodyguards who climb on the top of cars like a carnival.
Please calm down, please, Becca.
How can I come down when somebody has taken my woman here? Now I will be licking leftovers from a Malawian girl. I think this is not fair. This is not fair.
Let's go. Let's go.
All right, so our ministers mentioned that we're having the guest of honor, Dr. Okumatani Malunga, who apparently will also provide us with a speech at the very end of the program. But for now, allow me to invite him to the stage, because much as we are waiting for him to release his CD, one titled Kulariki Wamoto, he also come to share one of his poems. I'm not really sure if it is taken from this particular album or the other albums that we have listened to before. But ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Okumatani Malunga.
I want to keep you warm a bit. I'll start by keeping you warm a bit with love. And if you may permit me, let me start with that. Concerning love. Love is not the remembrance of the fragrance of some perfume. Even if you seek, you shall never find love in the shapeliest petals of a crimson rose in the wind, nor beneath the boughs of trees at dusk, or upon some unknown horizons that hang afar like the curtains of eternity. You shall never find love in the most sentimental of innocent verses, for these are merely broken reflections of reality from the cracked mirror of the visions of poets and madmen. I shall go then, I shall go lonely and alone with myself. I shall go to the Kalahari, and in the immense relics of the endless sands of time, I shall gather together the lost pieces of my courage, while the sun above shall bear witness to the question of quenching man's eternal thirst for the wine of love, that for which man has offered his body as a burnt offering. I shall go. Thank you. I noticed that the performers were largely from Chancellor College here. I want to take them back on memory lane. The dances, they're called the shindigs. I don't know what a shindig means, but that's what I write about now. College shindigs. When one turns back the hands of time to reminisce about one's academic journey, college shindigs bring back a flood of pleasant memories to be treasured with fondness, accentuated by the distance of time, embellished by nostalgia, unlocked by the happenings in room B, where it all happened as Cyndi Lauper, Milli Vanilli, Phil Collins, and Rod Stewart crooned with a heart-lifting passion, turning a cold May evening into a captivating home night of fun, initiating enthusiastic freshmen into the bubbly joy of seeing contented sophomores swinging with abandon to girls just want fun, while I want to know what love is being played. As dawn beckoned, the tumblers of the cocktail punch would be jealously gripped by staggering finalists, walking their last mile stoned by the intoxicating contents of containers carrying hard liquor imbibed with youthful bravado as they wobbled to true colors blaring from relentless speakers in the company of campus queens, dressed to kill in their latest fashions, gracing the dance floor as they floated with his zest, while releasing the fragrance of expensive perfume wafting out of their clearly shaven armpits as their jutting breasts refused arrest in their blurs. Such was the dream world shindigs created on Chirunga campus when fun meant something. I just recovered from COVID-19. You might have heard about, was it 4 weeks ago? A horrid time in bed. And prior to that, when the first wave of COVID started, well before it reached Malawi, I was one of those that had been writing preventive poetry on COVID. Whether this was a litmus test on the part of God to see how the seer would survive the searing heat of COVID, I do not know. But when we wrote about the dangers of COVID, we weren't taken seriously. This poem is based on that, remembering. When we wrote about COVID-19, our intention was neither to scare nor to be eschatological. We wanted to protect a nation we loved with so much passion and could not afford to just alarm it. We cared for our beloved compatriots as the usual doubting Thomases ruthlessly called us names to score cheap and temporary points, but we swallowed our pride with humility as they choked us with scorn. We knew fully well our 4 eyes reached where a searching pair of two, no matter how sharp, would not land, even if it tried harder than our foe. We were aware, like Jewish prophets of old, we were playing the proverbial madman, carrying the message of war to save those considered too sane to spare attention, to listen to lunatics pretending to be sages, as we now harvest the thorns, pricking where we never thought and imagined they would reach with speed in their moment of conceit. Our stanzas acquire a great and shrieking poignancy like no other. Our lines turn into sonorous bellows, deafening to hitherto clogged ears, refusing to accommodate wise counsel, forgetting the child's toy gun that killed an elephant. And the goodwill of thy brother's keeper, praying mother chicken, chasing a hunting hawk, bent on stealing a thriving brood of chicks in their moment of carelessness, while picking grain with their late mother. Our vases are now tom-toms guiding a ravaged people, losing their sleep over a scourge easily thwarted by prevention. The refrain we harped upon as we waited for vaccines that may not come on time to save those that are already downed, reeling from the agony exacted by vicious COVID-19, unleashing its virulent strain, vanquishing the very best among us as we watch the careless ones spreading the pandemic while wandering without masks and intermingling with like-minded morons at overcrowded roadside markets. We administered messages of restraint to the jaundiced ones, refusing to read the pandemic written all over the wall as it screamed menacingly for our attention with its elongated fangs carrying the venom of death, determined to cause unprecedented havoc among the gullible goons choosing to shorten their lives with the freedom mistaken for freedom. Thank you. Let me end this English session with an English poem again, titled A Different Valentine. We had it not too long ago, not so. A different Valentine. Where is love to be celebrated? With the choicest wine and shapeliest petals of pink roses, as soul crooners belt out rare romantic gems, amidst scarlet DJs dripping like blood, as the fiber of a nation is savagely torn apart by a tsunami of a pandemic, creating canals of tears no handkerchief can wipe out adequately, no matter how long and wide it may be. This is no time for sumptuous dinners in recreation places turned abattoirs by corona. Mourning and more mourning is our new normal as the world becomes a trap, tripping our very best when we least expect. So forget the champagne and the godly gowns hanging in wardrobes, beckoning a knock from dapper dresses. Genuflect before the powers above to seek restoration before we all perish under the incubus of corona. That can only be a survivor's tale. Thank you.
I'll not eat up much of your time considering that we're already running out of time. I see Mr. Smith is already making his way. But anyways, just as a reminder, we are launching a book, One Touch Southern African Plays Part 2, which is going at only 10,000 kwacha. So the book is readily available at the back. There's also an array of books there. But before I get you dipped into what is behind there, because I've already made mention of that, shortly we're going to have our very own Smith Likongwe coming through to give us a brief introduction of contributing playwrights in this particular book. So without much ado, Mr. Smith Likongwe, please.
Just like the guest of honor did, I also removed my mask temporarily because I believe you can hear me. The guest of honor, Dr. Benedicto Ogomaden Malunga, the president for the National Theatre Association of Malawi, Mr. Eric Mabedi, the president for the Chancellor Traveling Theatre, Ms. Manida Lisa Dogola. Has Mateo gone out a bit? Okay. I also wanted to recognize his presence. There is another former president of the Chancellor Traveling Theatre 20 years ago. He's around, you see him. I also want to salute him. He's the vice president for Mau here. Anyone, representatives from Mau, and my colleague, Mr. Alfred Nsada here, fellow actors like Steve Kungala here, who is now headmaster of some school, but that long time ago when we were boys, we ate the stage together. Fellow writers, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to do two things. Number one, to give you, to introduce the contributing playwrights of this collection, and then give my own speech on this auspicious occasion. As you can see on both sides, this book has 7 plays from 6 countries. And therefore, there are 7 playwrights. You can see the 6 playwrights there and their brief bios. But I decided that my face shouldn't be there because after I'm here. So you want my picture, you can take this picture. So why should it be on the walls? And those colleagues would have wanted to be here. Those of you who remember when we were launching Southern African Plays 1, 2-3 years ago, one of the contributing playwrights, Tau Maserumule from South Africa, was here in person, and he also gave a performance. This time around, at least 2 of those colleagues had expressed willingness to come over, but as we are all aware about this time, it hasn't been possible for them to come and grace this occasion. But I have communicated with them. They are all aware that the launch is happening here and now, and they say they are here with us in spirit. The last one to communicate with me was Palesa Mazamisa, whose picture you see at the very end. She said, please go ahead, we are with you in spirit. That was less than 2 hours ago when we were communicating. So their biographies are there. I hope you have found time to take a look at them. If you haven't, you are going to do so. But still allow me to very, very briefly introduce them. Like I'm saying, the first one was Palesa Mazamisa at the very end there, those 2 ends. She is a South African award-winning playwright. She's not an ordinary playwright. And she's not only a playwright, she writes in a lot of genres. She has written about finance, she has written about so many other things. But the play here, in this book, Shoes and Who's, was a winner of the best new South African script. And that was #1. So you can see we are not taking ordinary play scripts, but outstanding play scripts. In the first book, we also had another of his plays that was also #1. You are going to read out that play in South African Plays 1. So Dr. Chilala is no ordinary writer. Then we have Michael Moloki Teboho from Botswana. Michael Teboho is no ordinary writer. He has, to his credit, 28 books. Not just plays, 28 books written by him. And it was an honor for us to have one of his plays in this collection. Then we have Donald Mathis from Namibia. Mathis is a journalist by profession, and he has written a number of works. His play that is in here is Battered. And then after him we have Blessing Hungwe. Blessing Hungwe is an exceptional playwright from Zimbabwe. I'm very serious. You want to find out? There are very easy ways of finding out these days. Google, do anything you can. You find out more about Blessing Hungwe. His play, Ben Mugwele Brain, was also featured in the Southern African Plays 1. And here he has another play, one you saw here, When Angels Weep. These are award-winning plays. NAMA plays, NAMA National Arts Merits Awards from Zimbabwe. And then we have Stanley Maguwe. Stanley Maguwe is another award-winning writer. The play that appears in here, Chimbwido, Girl of War, was a winning play in 2016 in Zimbabwe for the National Arts Merits Awards. Maguwe stays in New Zealand, and he's still writing a lot of plays from there. He's a hot cake right now in New Zealand. Of course, he's Zimbabwean. His latest play, The Black Lava, writes about one of the colonialists who was there to take care of Zimbabwe. So briefly, those are the writers, and also plus me. A big hand for me, please. They are blowing my own trumpet, you know. But at least it's just me. Now, for my speech. This book, Southern African Plays 2, is a product of the communion of creative minds in the southern part of Africa. It is a small contribution towards the bank of dramatic literature in the world. Through this, we register not only our presence, but also the unique talent that exists in this part of Africa. Through this book, we exhibit the unity in our cultural diversity. Through this collection, we lay bare the idiosyncrasies of the individual playwrights and the creative muses that nourish their writing prowess. It is a statement towards changing the theatrical and academic terrain of the universe. It is common knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, that theater practitioners, theater audiences, critics, and academics often find solace in giving examples of playwrights and plays from the Western world when they want to discuss theatrical excellence. It is common knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, that when people from outside Africa want to talk about African theater and African literature, they quickly give examples of Western Africa. If it is Southern Africa, then it is about apartheid plays and the writers such as Arthur Fugard. Whereas we do not want to suggest that we discard that. We want to prove that there is more in Africa. We want a new approach where our own plays are going to enjoy similar recognition as those mentioned already. We realize that that is not possible if there's nothing to show for what we claim. It is because of that. It is because of that conviction that playwrights from this part of Africa have started teaming up to produce this Southern African Plays series. The intention is to make this regular. We want this to come out on a regular basis. We start small, but we shall surely make a mark. We consider it a literary crime to let this Southern African theatrical dexterity sink into oblivion. We do not want to hide this light of theatrical literature in a dark basket. We want this light to shine, and shine it will. Surely, theater, surely, literature from Southern Africa shall shine. We want to conquer, and conquer we shall. For this effort, I would like to hail my colleagues from the six countries. This project would not have been possible without them. They are dreamers. Dreamers of colorful dreams. They are people who see what is not there. They are not small minds. They saw what was to come. In the beginning, there was no book. In the beginning, there was no book. In the beginning, there were their ideas. In the beginning, there were their scripts. But they dreamt in color. They believed in this project. They submitted their plays. They did not belittle me. I do know that they must have done anything to find out who is Smith Likongwe. Because these are big people. These are big minds. They cannot just throw their scripts anyhow. They must have found out. And they saw what was not there. Like I've said, they are not useless people. They knew that as they were submitting the plays, a book of this type was going to come out. As I end my speech, I would like to, before I actually end, let us first clap hands for all the contributing playwrights. For Malawi, I do know that I have, you are aware also that I have written my own works, my own books, but it is very important to also have collections from different parts of the continent. That's why, although I have books by myself, there are also books by several Malawian playwrights. And this Southern African Plays is supposed to be a series. We want to make it happen. Everything starts small. You are aware that we used to have African Writers series. No longer there now. But we can still start small to have Southern African Plays series. I see a lot of experience in here. When I saw my friend here, Eric Mabedi, I look at him and I see the vast contribution he has made to Malawian theater. I would like to encourage Eric and the others in Ikwatu, you can come up with a collection. Even if Eric Mabed wanted to write books, he would produce his own plays and come up with 3 books or more next month. Because the plays are already there. But all I'm saying is, I am pleading, my asking fellow Malawian playwrights to also consider publishing. We can always talk. It's how best to do things, because 10, 20 years from now, some people may not know who was there or what was there. If we know Katichari Pripit, it's because there is a book. If we know Atambwali Sametan, it's because there is a book. I believe I'll be able to motivate my colleagues, my colleague and other colleagues here, to do whatever they can. We can always work together. We can always ask each other how best to do it. Maybe in the future there will be a book by Eric Mabed. Maybe books by Ikwatu, and indeed others. I can see Marcos Nyirenda, one of my own students, who has written his own books. He also is a young man there, and I can see a few students I taught a long time ago from the boys. The boys, I don't know whether they are still boys, but that was over 20 years ago. The boys are also here, so like I said, if they're still boys, fine. But some of them are here, and I see colleagues from Chester College, fellow students. I see Ben Malunga. You know him as a university registrar. I don't know him as that. I know him as my mentor.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Likongwe. You mentioned that we also do have a representative from Mau, so I think at this particular time, may I allow that particular person to come forth and share some few words with us as well.
The Director of Ceremonies, our guest of honor, Dr. Benedicto Ogomadan Marunga, institutional presidents, the names of Mr. Eric Mabed, Brother Alfred Estrada, and our deans from Chanko Traveling Theatre. I feel humbled and honored at the same time to speak at this auspicious occasion. I am a pastor, so I was in the church organizing whatever I was organizing when I saw a text that I was supposed to be here. So I had to rush, remove my pastor attire to suit the environment. So I'm very happy indeed to be in your midst. Now, business time. I was listening attentively to what our dear colleagues were saying through their poems, plays. I was so encouraged. I have written 2 poems myself. If I knew I was coming here possibly 2 or 3 days ago, and my 2 poems are Good Morning Africa and Mr. and Mrs. ARV. I wrote Good Morning Africa because I'm proud to be an African and a Malawian to be precise. I have traveled to a few countries that I've traveled, but when people see an African, no matter how intelligent you are, no matter how skilled you are, very few white people would appreciate your works. No matter if they look at color as a barrier sometimes. On Mr. and Mrs. ARV, because I'm not reciting, I have survived to see how HIV/AIDS has removed most of our dear ones when the lifelong drugs were not there. I'm very sure that deep in that, the ARTs that we are enjoying today were there some 30 years ago. Some of our brothers and sisters could be with us today. But it's unfortunate that it happened that way.
But then when we look at the COVID-19, it has also brought something else, so devastating, so worrisome. Suffice to say that it's a new mutation. Former Mozambican President Samuel Machel once said, and I quote, "A pen is more powerful than a gun." This man was a commando. He was a military man, but he realized that writing is very important. Now, I am here to appreciate the works by our colleagues, more especially Professor Smith Likongwe. You know, it's good to support our own people, our own brothers and sisters. Gone are the days when we used to support people for the sake of supporting, failing to support our own men and women who are talented. It is only when you go out of your country upon invitation to deliver something else, to present something else, to open some conferences. It's when you realize that there is potential in you. Because potential is acknowledged and realized when it is exposed. Sometimes we underestimate our own intellectuals in the land, maybe because of just mere underestimations or because of greed. I have listened to When I See Africa by our dear brother Machel, then the different Valentine, our own guest of honor. Normally, I remember the guest of honor, his own Chichewa poem, Lidzaulegera Kunyanja Liginet. So when I was coming here, after going through the program, seeing that the guest of honor is Dr. Molunga, I had that poem in my head because I thought very, very strictly on Dr. Molunga. You are a very big blessing. Apart from lecturing at Chasa College, or apart from doing administrative duties, but through your skills, everybody knows you. We know you as one of the contributors. But in my short speech, what I would like to say here is about the issue of knowledge producers. My experience has shown that knowledge producers benefit very little from their production than those that use the knowledge. I don't know if that is a good analysis. I have written little things that I've written, but I see how difficult it is to come up with something else that some people can really appreciate. That this book is well written. This poem, whatever, this play is well written. The author took time. Maybe this might not be the former, but suffice to say that those in authority should consider this time around that those that take time to come up with books, plays, poems, or forms of arts that at least educate the masses out there should at least benefit from their production. I'm saying this because some people have contributed in various institutions, maybe some for 5 years, 10 years, they have not even received a penny from their production. So that is worrisome. Before I finish, allow me to say this quote. Kwame Nkrumah once said, and I quote, "We neither face east or west, we face forward." But I say that politically and prophetically, we have faced east, we have faced west. This is now time to face south, which is Africa. I have said that I'm a pastor, Now, I wouldn't leave this podium without something else concerning the word of God. Prophetically, Africa is seen, or has always been seen or taken as the poorest continent. But now, looking at the events that are unfolding in our time, Africa now is shining. As a graduate, I would tell you that prophetically, Africa now is fulfilling very great events. Suffice to say that when Professor Likongwe was speaking, saying something, whether comparing the jobs that we do with the sex workers, they've got a better name than sex workers. They call them leisure consultants, whatever, whatever they call them. But then, if you ask me, I would totally disagree with you, Professor. Sorry, this is not a classroom. Yeah. Now, what I'm saying here, in short, is as Malawi Writers Union, we invite as many writers as possible. You who are talented. And I'm sure that I attended one of the meetings, workshop somewhere, when I was told that almost everyone can write. Almost everyone can write. Because whatever we see, whatever we hear, you can put that in writing and people can appreciate. So let us use our talents to educate, to entertain, you see, to tell people about what is happening. Because the kind of time that we are having now, even the COVID situation, if you can just take the COVID from its inception, when it started, when the first victim was diagnosed, to the present, so many books can be written about what? COVID-19. Even here in Malawi, so many of them. But now, if you can ask who is busy, who has ever done something else on COVID, and maybe there's nobody else who has done about these things. But on the social media, we see and we hear a lot. Fine. Since I'm here as a representative of my Writers Union, by my president, some of you may not know me. I am Sylvester Dubuka. I am chairing Mau Religious Desk. Now, the president wishes you, Professor Likongwe, very well in all your undertakings. As the Writers Union, we appreciate such people. It is our prayer that this should not be the last launch, but we expect so many launches ahead of this. I know that there are so many big factors that have been there, but we totally believe that whatever we see here is temporary, because nothing is permanent. The COVID will go, and things will be back to normal. When the situation normalizes, let's work together, and let's train one another, so that all of us should become champions. Gone are the days when we used to hide when we were in primary school. We used to hide whatever we were writing. But this time around, we share. You train others. When you're an adult like me, a father, you would always want that your children should take over and moreover. Even if, I would go, you. With these few remarks, I wish you the best. And thanks for listening. Thank you.
So once a wise man said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate, our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And most of the times we ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, awesome, gorgeous? Actually, who are you not to be? You all do have, different stories coming from different backgrounds. But the liberty to share those stories, be them in written works, is what makes us, relieved from the stories that have kept us bondage for the longest time. And without much ado, I mentioned that amidst us we do have our guest of honor, Dr. Dan Malunga. Earlier I invited him to the podium to share a poem or two. But right now he will be coming through to share a speech. So Dr. Dan Malunga, I begin for you, please.
Can I seek your indulgence, Saunda, since people insisted that they were anticipating a short piece from me? I have one of a half a page, a recent production. Can I deliver it before I go into my speech?
Yes, yes.
This poem is called Yandi Timbaji. Jandiri ukulaji, jandi bengetsaji, jandi tembaji, jandi mbandiraji, jandi zozaji, jankedi zofuna zanga, jizimitse jipemba janga, jondi sautsaji, jotse nyota, jindininke mpumulo, jindi tuze ntima, jizimitse Malawi, jindigomerezede. That's the end of the poem. All protocols observed. Before perhaps I go into my remarks, and I must apologize, I'm not one that believes in written speeches. I tend to love improvisation like the playwrights and the actors and actresses, because you can determine when you can cut your speech short and make it long. But before I go into the remarks I want to make in honor of Smith, I would like to make this observation. It is really a shame for us Malawians that on a day when we have a very special occasion like this one, we can have a crowd as small as this one. Elsewhere, where people value books, where people value ideas, this would be considered a feast to which so many enlightened people would come. And out of this occasion, tomorrow we'll be hearing a lot of radio stations talking about how great this event is. I'm raising this because it would appear to me that we are increasingly becoming a nation that enjoys putting other people down. And when we see stars shining, we would like to look for ways of dimming them. And I tend to think that is most unfortunate. If Chinua Achebe, as editor of the African Writers series, had not promoted his fellow Nigerians, what Smith said earlier, namely, that all along we had been thinking that the brightest and greatest writers came from West Africa, would not have been the case. But Achebe believed in charity begins at home. If you asked me whether I'm surprised that Smith has become a rising star in as far as drama is concerned, I will tell you that I am not. I am not because his story, if you look at his biodata, resembles the story of any great writer you may have read about, be it Ngugi wa Thiong'o, Chinua Achebe, Ore Soyinka, Aikwe Iyama, and others. Smith will tell you that his interest in writing began in primary school. By the time he got into secondary school at Robert Rose, he had already written and produced 2 plays. Upon getting into Chancellor College, he was president of the traveling theater, and those that have been to Chanko will testify that if there is a revolution that was ever caused in the arts, it was a revolution that was caused by the likes of Chris Kamulongera and others in theater when they introduced what was known as the Theater for Development. And at the time, Sadala and I were students at Chancellor College. If there was a group that was vibrant because of its extramural activities, it was actually the traveling theater. And whoever was the chairman of that traveling theater was basically regarded as a colossus in writing. But he wasn't only chairman of the traveling theater, but even the writers' workshop, which again, during his time was very vibrant. And he was lording over professors, because it was attended by professors, students, and other interested writers alike. To be able to chair those sessions as people hacked each other left and right require a certain level of cerebral stamina you don't experience on a daily basis. And for that, Smith, I feel so proud of you, and I would like to encourage you to continue on the trajectory you have started. How many teachers in secondary school who taught English can say that for 7 years, the 6 plays they wrote and produced won the national award? How many? But you scooped that accolade, and you still walk without a balloon ego. How many among our artists can boast of having written 150 stage, radio, and television plays? You, Smith, have done that. But how many of our people have written about that record? If you were in Nairobi, if you were in Ibadan, if you were in Lagos, you would have been appearing on every literary page because of those achievements. But what pleases me most is that, like all great people, you continue to be self-effacing. The moment any individual gets to a level whereby they say, I have arrived, there begins their downfall. Having taught in secondary school, having won so many competitions, I'm not surprised that upon joining Chancellor College, you did not teach like those people that come to read their book and the students ask, when is the lecture beginning? Yeah? Because you've been on top of your game, you can start your lesson from anywhere. Real great teachers like David Rubadili would walk into a classroom and basically start the lesson from the end. And by the time you get to the beginning, the bell is ringing and you're leaving the classroom sufficiently satisfied that you have been schooled properly. When you have writers of your caliber, Smith, on campus, students get motivated. I am a teacher myself, as you know, by training, although I've gravitated into higher education management. That has claimed most of my creativity, leaving me destitute of what you knew when I was with you. But maybe that's a story for another time. Lamentations were already done by the Kalirombe in Steve Chimombo's poetry. I'm not ready to resuscitate those lamentations. They have their own time. But for now, I would like to mention this. When you are a teacher and you stand in front of 40 students, you must know that each one of those is differently gifted. And your role is basically to catalyze the emergence of their individual potential. Because the beauty of a garden lies in the multiplicity of the colors of its flowers. The beauty of a garden lies in the multiplicity of the beauty of its colors. That's why when Chinua Achebe was asked, which among your books do you consider your best? He said, like a paterfamilias worth his sort, I would rather talk about their individual peculiarity other than choose the one I love most. Because they are all my children, and they please me differently. To therefore say I love all of God more than the things fall apart is to deny ownership of the others, and yet they are mine. I nearly said, Professor Olesho Inc., I presume. And for him to recognize me quickly, I played a trick. I went and said, I come from Mapanje's country, wearing borrowed robes. But when he greeted me, I didn't feel like washing my hand. For the entire week I was That is a typical example of how motivating it can be to students when they are very knowledgeable playwright on campus. Let me end by saying this. We watch Nigerian films, don't we? And it's a huge industry now, yeah? It is contributing quite a lot to the GDP of Nigeria, not so? Did it happen overnight? No. The beginning of it was the likes of people like Smith. Plays that were staged by the likes of Olesho Inca, Pepper Clark, and others. By the way, that guy Edochie, that guy Edochie, who was celebrating his 73rd birthday, he looks avuncular and enjoys acting with little girls, and he handles girls like you have never known how. That Edochie came to fame when he performed Things Fall Apart. Things Fall Apart, the book, was performed by Edochie and others. As you know, he's Igbo, and he understood the Igbo stuff in that book very well. Why am I saying this? If Smith is launched today, inspires other playwrights to join hands with him and write a lot more, and we perform a lot more on stages like it used to happen with Kwatu at its peak and with Duchi Caesar at its peak. The temptation among our humanities graduates that are being exposed to greater technology in the production of plays and so on will be the genesis of Malawi's own film industry. And the joyous will multiply in numbers. And in no time at all, we will not be talking about graduates in humanities failing to get jobs, because the film industry recruits script writers, designers, dancers, photographers, musicians, actors and actresses. One play, one script generates so many jobs. I'm saying all this to underscore that people like Smith, whom we may not be giving the appropriate support, could actually be the alternative economy to some of the things that have failed in this country. Having said that, I'd like to invite all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to stand up and in true faith give this man of the soil the appropriate standing ovation. Thank you very much. What would I do without you? May you sit down. And at this stage, the politicians usually say, with those few remarks, I am far too small to imitate them. Thank you.
As we are edging closer to wrapping up activities for today, here comes the part where you have to dig deeper into your pockets and release the monies that you have in order for you to have access to this particular book. I made mention earlier that a copy is going around 10,000 kwacha. Plus, before I get to the nitty-gritties of what is supposed to happen, I just wanted to render communication that another person has already bought the book at 150,000 kwacha. This is Rafa Sauti. So let's give him a round of applause. Transactions can be made through Airtel Money. I believe there will be people providing you with details, much as I'll say a little right now. The Airtel number is 0994 77 97 82. I'll keep on mentioning the numbers as we continue, of course. Through Mpamba 0888 84 64 85, and of course through our National Bank account 100 53 21 77. So I'm a very generous person. This book encompasses about 7 plays. So for the sake of sanity, who among us can at least provide 10,000 kwacha to each and every play in this particular book, so that the initial price for this particular book goes at 70,000 kwacha. So 10,000 kwacha for each and every play which is in this particular book. 7 plays are done by great writers. He made a bio of all of them. I mean, we can see them on the walls. These are people with accolades. 70,000 kwacha, an initial price for this particular book, considering that another person has already bought it, 150,000 kwacha. Anyone going at 70,000 kwacha? Yes, Dr. Okomatani, thank you very much. Yes, you can up the bid, you can up the bid. Anyone who can up the bid, 70,000 kwacha is just the starting price. Do you want to get it at 80, 75? 80? And can you say it louder? 80. Sorry. 80,000 kwacha. Yes, yes. Anyone who can get it, yes, we have 70, 80. You can up the bid to talk about that, Malunga. I mean, you can have someone going over you, considering the person that you are. I'm just saying, yes, 80,000. Anyone who can up that particular bid, 80,000 kwacha. 80,000 kwacha. Come on, 80,000 kwacha. 80,000 kwacha. Anyone who can do 85, or perhaps 90, 85, 85. Anyone who can do 85? Hi, Paul. Long time, eh? Yes. Anyone who can do 85? 85? Oh, 85 to Dr. Okomatan Malone. Is that you, sir, raising your hand? Oh, right. Oh, you wanted to do 90. I thought you wanted to do 90. You can do 90. Or there could be another person just walking up and be like, you know what, I want to do 200. Let's wrap this up so that we can go home. But let's do 90. Mr. Sada, long time, eh? How are you? You're fine. Okay. We missed. Oh, is that okay? 90. Anyone to do 90? Anyone to do 90? I kind of receiving a prophetic message that a man of God will go for 90. I don't know if this is right or not, but I see him staring down. Sir. There's just this Holy Spirit right within me, which is telling me that please let him go 90. Please, please. Anyone to do 90? 100? 100? Do I have to look the other way, or I should still be staring at you? 100,000? 100,000?
Let's close it with
100,000. 100,000 going once. 100,000 going twice. Anyone to top that up? 100,000 going 3 times. 100,000 which is. Let's give him a round of applause.
It's been a very, very important development in as far as in this country is concerned. For Smith to have edited a book that has received contributions from some of the finest minds in drama in Southern Africa is in itself, I think, an indication that as a writer, he has really made giant strides in his area of specialization in drama. And as somebody who has seen him develop, I was most delighted to be here to support him and to appeal to fellow Malawians that when we have got our own stars here, we should be in the habit of giving them appropriate support so that they can continue to shine.
I'm ecstatic. I am overjoyed because of the fact that we have still been able to launch the book in spite of the circumstances surrounding. And I'm very happy that the people came. And I don't complain about the number of people because we are all aware of these times. But in short, I'm ecstatic, I'm happy, I'm overjoyed that we have finally launched the Southern African Plays 2. The book is about the lives and times of people of Southern Africa, because it contains plays from Southern Africa with different styles, unique styles from Southern Africa. It has various themes. The 7 plays, each has its own different themes. We have themes ranging from politics, sex life. We have themes like nepotism. We have all sorts of things, themes in the play, including also chieftainship, disease, and all that. So it's generally various themes and issues from the southern part of Africa. Going forward, let me just reiterate what I said in my speech, that as we have launched the Southern African Plays 2 today, this is just the beginning. We're coming towards the beginning. There was 1, this is 2, and we intend to maintain to have the Southern African Plays series. So people should wait for more such books. Within 2 years, we'll be here launching another. And also, as an individual, I will continue writing and publishing more and more plays. Actually, people should expect a minimum of 1 book came from me this year. I'm talking about a minimum because there might be 2 more books by the end of this year. That's what I can say for now. But I want to encourage people to buy these books, because the plays are the easiest to read. You have the person who says, and then the other one who responds. And so on their own, people can buy books of plays and read and enjoy and dramatize them in their own minds. Because these are not times where you are going to have many public performances because of the situation. So because of that reason, I encourage as many people as possible to buy these books, to look at the plays, and then create the drama out of all this in their heads.